They circled low above the canyon flats, black wings carving slow, deliberate spirals into the sky. Clay McAlister watched them from the ridge, one hand shading his eyes, the other gripping the worn reins of his Mustang. Buck, the desert below, was a bowl of heat and silence, the kind that baked bones into dust and forgot names quicker than it learned them. He almost rode on. But the buzzards didn't lie. Clay descended the rocky slope with caution, every step of Buck's hooves stirring the brittle silence. At first he saw only rusted metal. Then the shape took form: a cage, not for animals, too small, too cruel. Iron bars, sun-scorched and bolted into stone like it belonged there. Inside it, curled against the back corner, was a girl. She looked no older than 14. Skin blistered raw from the sun, lips cracked wide, her blonde hair caked with dust. And blood? Her dress hung in strips, offering little protection from the cruel blaze overhead. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. But her chest moved barely. Clay dismounted. The desert wind tugged at his coat as he approached the cage. Jesus? He murmured. He knelt beside the bars, reached through with his canteen, tilted it against her lips. At first, nothing. Then a swallow, another. She gasped and coughed, but her hands gripped the flask with desperate strength. What's your name, girl? Clay asked, voice low and even. Ada, she rasped barely. Audible. Who did this to you? Her lips trembled, blood crusted at the corners. Her gaze found his for the first time, eyes the color of cracked porcelain. Red Rock Gulch, she whispered. Clay went still. The name stirred something deep and rotten. Red Rock Gulch? Wasn't on most maps, but every drifter, bounty man, and law dodger west of the Pecos knew the name. A place where lawmen turned to outlaws and women disappeared without trace. He'd passed near it once and hadn't looked back. Now it clawed its way to the center of his trail. He rose, jaw tight, and went for his saddlebags, a crowbar, a canteen, a rolled blanket. He jammed the iron into the cage's lock and twisted, until the bolt screeched loose. The door groaned open. Ada collapsed into his arms like a puppet with its strings cut. She weighed almost nothing. As he wrapped her in the blanket and eased her onto the saddle, Clay's thoughts went to the fire. His ranch, blackened timber glowing red in the dark. His wife Sarah, face soot-streaked, lying limp in his arms. Their son Micah, just 7, buried in the ruins of the barn he loved. The raiders had worn masks, but their words were clear enough. No. Half-breeds in our territory. Clay hadn't buried justice that night. He buried restraint. He looked down at Ada, slumped in the saddle, eyes fluttering closed. You ain't dying out here, he muttered. Not today. He climbed up behind her, steadying her against his chest, and turned Buck northeast. Toward Red Rock Gulch, toward the men who'd left a girl to die in an iron box like cattle in the sun. The sun was falling behind the cliffs now, casting long shadows across the sand. Clay rode silent, the wind whispering over the rocks like ghost voices. Every creak of the saddle, every groan of dry leather echoed louder than words. He didn't know if vengeance would bring peace. He didn't care, he just knew a line had been crossed, and he'd seen too many lines crossed already. As the first stars blinked into view above the wastelands, Ada murmured something against his chest. What was that? He asked, leaning close. Thought I was dead, she said. Clay looked out across the barren land. The trail ahead was long, full of fire and worse men than death. Not yet, he said. Not while Clay McAlister still rode. The desert bled into dust-choked plains, the wind sharp and relentless, stinging Clay's face like nettles. By mid-morning, the sun was a white eye overhead, merciless as the men he now pursued. Ada lay limp against his back, her breath shallow but steady. They reached a dry ravine lined with twisted mesquite trees, the first sign of shade in miles. Clay dismounted, eased Ada down, and poured a trickle of water over her lips. Her eyes open barely. Can you ride another day? He asked. She blinked once, weak but trying. He nodded. Asterisk. We rest here an hour. And then we keep moving. Asterisk. He fed her what little jerky he had left, soaked stale bread in water until it softened. Enough to chew. She tried to sit up, failed. Asterisk. Tell me more about them, he said, voice low. Controlled. Asterisk. Her eyes flicked toward the sun-bleached rocks. 3 men, she whispered. One was big. Wore a coat like dried blood. Kept calling me property. The other 2 just laughed. Asterisk. Clay's brow knotted. That name, the bloodcoat, had shadowed stories for months now. A slaver by trade, murderer by nature. Said he rode with a broken star on his belt, one he'd taken off a marshal he killed. In Oklahoma Territory, asterisk Red Rock Gulch, Clay muttered. That where they're holed up? Asterisk. She nodded faintly. They got a place near the edge of town, stable, maybe. Took me there first. Sheriff looked right at me. Did nothin'. That last part didn't surprise him. Clay rose, scanned the landscape. Red Rock lay less than a day northeast. He'd find no welcome there, only rusted guns and leering stares. But the cage haunted him, rattling in his memory like iron in wind. No man should ride past that. He packed their things, mounted up, and rode by sundown. The gulch rose like a scar in the land-red cliffs, jagged like broken teeth, and below, a cluster of buildings that leaned in on each other like drunkards. The town wasn't much, 6 or 7 storefronts, a crooked saloon, a livery, and a chapel with its cross hanging sideways. A place the law forgot. Asterisk. Clay guided Buck into the shadows of a bluff just outside the outskirts where a lone cottonwood tree swayed in the night wind. There, hidden from view, he built a small fire and watched Ada sleep. He didn't rest. Instead, he unrolled a cloth from his saddlebag, a revolver, and 6 cartridges. He checked each round, fingers steady. When the gun clicked shut, something shifted behind his eyes. Asterisk. This wasn't justice. It was preparation. Asterisk. He rode into town before dawn, leaving Ada beneath the tree with a rifle beside her bedroll. Asterisk. The saloon doors creaked as he entered. Inside, oil lamps flickered low. A few early drunks lingered near the poker tables, boots propped on stools. Behind the bar stood a heavy-set man with a silver badge dulled by grime. His eyes narrowed at Clay. Asterisk. Well now, the man drawled, if it ain't Clay McAlister. Heard you burned with your house. Looks like the fire missed. Asterisk. Clay didn't blink. Sheriff Bain, still playing peacekeeper in a town that sells girls in cages? The room stilled. Bain's hand dropped near his belt. You got a mouth. On you for a ghost? Asterisk. You let a man named Bloodcoat walk free here, Clay said. He left a girl to die in the desert. I pulled her out of a cage yesterday. Now I'm looking to return the favor. Asterisk. A shadow moved in the far corner of the room. A lanky man with a scar over one eye stood, hand drifting toward his holster. Clay turned his body sideways, classic draw stance. You gonna tell me where he is? Clay said softly, or I'll drag his name out of the last man standing in this room. Asterisk. Scarface hesitated. Sheriff Bain stepped forward, trying to reclaim control. Asterisk. You think this town gives a damn what you want? Clay's voice dropped. No, but it's gonna remember what I take. Asterisk. The silence broke as Bain stepped back. His eyes flicked toward the stables down the street. That was enough. Clay tipped his hat, turned on his heel, and walked out without looking back. Blood would come soon, and he intended to spill it first. The stable reeked of rot and sweat horses long gone, the air thick with old hay and old sins. Clay stepped through the warped double doors, slow and deliberate, Colt drawn low against his thigh. The silence inside wasn't empty. It waited. Asterisk. A boot scraped behind a pillar. Clay spun. The shot cracked the morning stillness like thunder. His bullet caught the first man Scarface in the chest. The outlaw pitched backward into the straw, eyes wide, blood soaking his shirt before his knees even hit the ground. Asterisk. Ducked behind a stall as a second gun barked from the loft above. A bullet smashed into the wooden beam beside his head, showering him with splinters. He rolled left, came up firing, another cry. A shape tumbled from the rafters, crashing onto the ground below with a dull thud. 2 down, Footsteps clapped behind him. Clay twisted just as a massive figure surged from the shadows, coat the color of dried blood. Long beard streaked with dust and a star-shaped scar carved into his cheek. The man's fist came down like a sledgehammer. Clay took it in the shoulder, staggered back against the stall wall. Blood coat, up close, he was all brute and cruelty. He grinned wide, lips curled around yellow teeth. Asterisk, you the one sniffing around my business? He said, voice like gravel in a rusted pan. Asterisk Clay answered with his fist, slamming it into the man's jaw. Bloodcoat stumbled, growled, and charged. They crashed through a feed trough, fists swinging, knees buckling the floorboards. Clay landed a punch that split his knuckles wide, but Bloodcoat was stronger. He caught Clay by the coat and drove him hard into a post. Clay's breath vanished in an instant. Asterisk, you look like a man who lost something, Bloodcoat sneered, wrapping both hands around Clay's throat. Asterisk, I did, Clay rasped. Now I'm talking something back. Asterisk, with a surge, Clay drove his knee into the outlaw's gut, broke the chokehold, and shoved him backward. His colt had skittered across the hay. Bloodcoat lunged for it. Clay dove first. Their hands hit metal at the same time. Asterisk Clay wrenched it free and fired point blank. Asterisk, the shot split Bloodcoat's mouth open. The giant dropped like a felled ox, his limbs twitching in the straw. Then, still, Asterisk Clay stood over the body, chest heaving, sweat and blood dripping from his brow. He stared down at the twitching fingers, waiting for them to stop. Justice wasn't clean. It was red, ragged, and final. Asterisk, he stepped outside. The sun slicing the sky in golden blades. The town was awake, now, faces in windows, doors creaking open. Word would spread fast. Bloodcoat was dead. The cage girl's savior had a name. Asterisk Clay ignored them all. Asterisk, he rode hard back to the cottonwood tree where he'd left Ada. The wind beat dust against his face. His shoulder throbbed, ribs screamed with each breath. But he didn't stop, not until he saw the blanket empty. Asterisk, the rifle still there, untouched. Tracks in the dirt, small feet, barefoot, staggering. Asterisk, he followed them over the ridge, heart hammering. Then he saw her. Ada stood in the gully below, staring at a creek that shimmered like quicksilver in the morning sun. Her face was pale, lips cracked, but her back was straight. A girl who'd crawled out of death's mouth and dared it to follow. Asterisk, she turned as he approached, eyes clear for the first time. Asterisk, you got him? She asked. Clay nodded. He scream? Asterisk Clay thought for a moment. No, just bled. Asterisk Ada looked back at the creek. Good. Asterisk, they stood in silence a long time. The world, for once, didn't rush them. Asterisk, you got family? Clay finally asked. She shook her head. Then you ride with me for a while. Till you want different. Ada looked up, lips quivering into the closest thing to a smile he'd seen since he found her. Okay, she whispered. Asterisk Clay helped her onto Buck, climbed up behind her, and turned their back to Red Rock Gulch. Behind them, the wind howled. Ahead, the horizon waited wide and burning. Asterisk, he rode toward it. They didn't speak much on the ride north. Asterisk, the trail wound through scorched canyons and wind-scoured flats, where the silence of the land whispered like old ghosts. Clay kept one hand steady on the reins, the other near his sidearm. Ada rode in front of him, wrapped in the blanket, her body lean and quiet, but no longer trembling. Asterisk, at night, they camped beneath star-punched skies. Clay taught her how to stack kindling and shoot a rifle, slow and steady. She listened like the lessons meant something. Because they did. In the West, survival was the only language that mattered. Asterisk, by the fifth day, they came to a crossroads. 2 wagon ruts splitting east and west beneath a twisted juniper tree. Clay pulled up, horse breathing heavy beneath them. Asterisk, this where we part? Ada asked. Asterisk, he didn't answer right away. Just looked down one trail, then the other. Each horizon looked the same, endless and uncertain. Asterisk, I've got a cousin in Silver Bend, he said. Owns a feed store. Honest man. Keeps his hands clean. Asterisk, you want to leave me there? Asterisk, no, he said. I want to give you the choice. Asterisk Ada's jaw worked slightly, like she was grinding something between her teeth. Then she pointed west. Asterisk, what's that way? Asterisk, homesteaders, forest, safer land, asterisk, and east, asterisk, trouble, always is. Asterisk, she smirked faintly. Then I suppose we head west. Asterisk, Clay nodded. Then west it is. He gave Buck a nudge and they rode on. A week later, they crested a ridge and saw Silver Bend sprawled below, modest, clean, and framed by pine hills. A church bell rang in the distance. Smoke curled from chimneys. No buzzards overhead. Asterisk as they entered town, Clay felt eyes on them, but no one reached for a gun. No one spat. Just quiet glances at the scarred man and the thin girl with hard eyes. Asterisk, his cousin Sam met them at the store, wiping his hands on a grain sack. Asterisk, well, I'll be damned, Sam said. Heard you were dead. Asterisk, Clay gave a tired nod. And walking with ghosts. Figured it was time to stop. They stayed 3 nights. Sam put Ada to work stocking shelves. She took to it fast, sharp girl. Didn't flinch when customers raised their voices. Didn't speak more than she needed to. Clay watched her grow a little taller each morning, not in inches but in weight. The kind you carried inside. Asterisk on the 4th morning, he saddled Buck and packed light. Ada stepped out from the porch, eyes narrowing. You leavin'? Asterisk, Clay nodded once. You're safe here. Sam'll treat you right. Asterisk, she crossed her arms. That it? Asterisk, Clay rubbed his jaw, glanced down the street, then back at her. I ain't good at long goodbyes. Asterisk, I ain't a skin for long. Asterisk, he walked over, reached into his coat, and handed her a small leather pouch. Inside, $6 silver. Asterisk, for boots. And books, he said. And a rifle if someone looks at you wrong. Asterisk, Ada didn't cry. Didn't blink. Just nodded, her grip tight on the pouch. Asterisk, you think you'll come back? She asked. Asterisk, he looked at the horizon, where the road stretched thin beneath the rising sun. Asterisk, maybe, if I don't, you'll know I tried. Asterisk, she took a breath. Thank you, Clay. Asterisk, he gave her one last look, the kind a father gives. Whether he has the right to or not, then swung onto Buck and rode out without another word. Asterisk, the morning wind rose behind him, carrying the scent of pine and smoke. Asterisk, he didn't know where the road would take him. Maybe nowhere, asterisk, but somewhere out there, more girls sat in cages. More devils wore tin stars, and he still had bullets. As the sun climbed higher, Clay McAlister became a silhouette against the amber sky, tall, silent, and fading with each hoofbeat until only dust remained. Behind him, the town breathed easy. Ahead, the plain stretched wide and empty, waiting for a man like him. Asterisk.